I'm working now in the banking industry.
I work in sales.
I've been working with migration and conflict.
How would you describe the work life here in Germany? What can you expect salary wise? How much would you say somebody would need in order to live here comfortably?
But why don't we do delivery? No, it's not possible. Why is it not possible? We've never done it. So it's that kind of mindset. They don't want non-German born people in management positions.
Someone who wants to work in banking here in Berlin, what can you expect salary wise?
I think the German market is based on status and experience as well. But okay, what I think comes first what you study, and then comes how many years of experience you have. Berlin salaries, I must say, they're not the best at the moment because of inflation as well. Maybe before were better, but yeah. Like, are you talking about numbers or like?
Yeah, not your number, what is the range of something that?
I would say, well, minimum. If you work in banking, you would expect minimum 3,000 euros brutto, and then yeah, maximum. I would say. I mean, it really depends on the experience, but let's say you have like a master's and you have like 7 years of experience, maybe you would expect roughly like between I would say 3,500 to 5,000, a little bit more. It really depends on also on the bank where you're working for.
I'm senior account manager for merchandise, so I do also e-shops, and project managing.
And your company is based
In the UK.
UK, but you also applied in Germany or have an idea about the salaries.
When I left London, I was looking, for jobs. I applied via LinkedIn. I think it's a really good platform to find a job. But the salaries in Berlin were much, much lower, and the difference per year was 20,000. Plus, you pay much higher taxes in Germany than in London. Berlin, it's still very much east from what my friends who lived here told me, the salaries.
What could be an example salary? Do you have a range?
So I interviewed for senior role, and they offered me 45,000 per year.
Before taxes?
Before taxes, which is quite low. So I said I was looking for 55, which I think it's like 2,800. And I knew half of it will be just to pay rent here. So you need to have a salary of 55K, especially when you live alone.
I've studied public policy and conflict studies as well as cultural relations and migration. So I've been working with migration and conflict since then. I usually have two jobs. I don't try to limit myself to one job, because then that also gives me the feeling of not doing enough, of being limited to a circle. So working with refugees in migration as advisor, I also do oral history of conflict in Afghanistan and Pakistan. I run my own organization which promotes humanism in Afghanistan. These are the three things that I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's also very busy then for you, the work life.
Quite busy. I also work on the weekends for a couple of hours, but those 2 hours are the work that I want to do, and that makes me feel better than compared to the work that I have to do for money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understandable. Yeah. And for someone in your profession, how much would you say is the earning possibilities? Do you have a range to say how much you could?
For the salaries in Berlin are comparatively lower than most cities in Germany, but it comes with its perks here in Berlin, which is for me again that I get to live in Berlin, so I'm okay with a lower salary. The salary range for social worker or for somebody, it is actually lower than IT, a lot lower than IT, and that's one of the reasons that's destroying Berlin's culture, because we have a really high difference between salaries of different sectors. So the social would be something around 3,000 or more, depending on your experience. If you work as a social worker.
You're talking about brutto, right?
About brutto, and after that then you have like you just manage to live your life on a minimum if you're a social worker. But the more you get like higher, and they call it Stufe in German. Gehaltsstufe.
So where would you say is the cap in the social area? Where's
I mean, I would say around 5 to 6,000, which would be an average salary if you're an experienced person.
Have you experienced the work culture in Germany?
Yes, I have, but I have never worked for a German employer. And it's because I'm too qualified for the jobs that they are willing to give to people who are not born here. Germans expect you to be hotel clerks, maybe servers. They want the foreigners to take low-level jobs. I mean, I could walk in and be the food and beverage director of the Marriott here, but the Marriott would never even see me about this job because they go into a panic that they'll look at the name, Karl Wilder, they'll look at the background, and then if they find out you're born in the US after the phone call, yes, your background isn't correct. You don't have the correct background for this. We need someone with a degree in hotels. And it's like, but you called me. You called me. Why did you call me if I don't have the right background? Well, because we found you on LinkedIn and we thought maybe you had the right background and you had forgotten to put your degree in. There's always these things around it. When they realize you're not German, they are very discriminatory. So they hire a lot of really incompetent people, and I'm seeing this over and over again in the hotels. And you look at the wine list and go, that is ridiculous. That was put together by a wine salesman. That is a horrible wine list. But it's because they hire people who studied the right subject, who have the right degree, and were born here over people who got worldwide qualifications, a master's in wine, etc., because they don't want non-German born people in management positions.
You wouldn't fit in their box, basically.
I don't fit in their box. I mean, I would come into the Waldorf and say, hey, you guys do great, whatever it is. I don't know what they do well, but you do great currywurst. I hate this stuff, but why don't we do delivery? No, it's not possible. Why is it not possible? We've never done it. So it's that kind of mindset. Why don't you act as a ghost kitchen? You've got all these people and they're barely serving anyone. We can design a menu specifically for delivery as a ghost kitchen. No, it's not possible. Nothing is possible for people who believe it's impossible.
How much would you say somebody would need in order to live here comfortably?
Yeah, it depends upon whether you're searching for a place to live by yourself or a WG, living together with other people. From what I understood, like a room costs in between 400 and 600, like if you want to play it safe. You have more expensive rooms. I don't know if you have cheaper ones. An apartment, from what I found, it can vary a lot in between 700 until 1,500, depending upon the area, how big it is, of course. Groceries are not the most expensive. I live with my boyfriend, and we spend around 300 a month. Like 300, 350. Yeah, no, it's decent. Also, because we we buy a lot of oatmeal and stuff. you can live off that. And the good thing is that in terms of eating out, actually Germany is quite friendly. There are quite some nice places that don't cost too much, which is very different from Amsterdam actually. In Berlin you can actually find some nice restaurants that they are not super expensive and the food is good.
So if you would want to give a total number for a simple lifestyle here in Germany, how would you say somebody would need all of it together?
Yeah, you have to also think of the public transport, which will cost you a minimum of around 50 euros a month. And then, of course, I imagine people want to do some activity around, but I'd say that with like living comfortably around like in between 1,200, 1,500, you'll be good.
And I would say that's the minimum to live um, in a okay level in Berlin. It's 3,000 brutto, but netto it's roughly like maybe I think almost 2,000 euros. So I would say that's the minimum right now in Berlin with the inflation and the apartment situation and everything.
And in terms of cost of living, how would you say how is that in Berlin? Like in terms of rent and other costs?
I think the highest is the rent, which eats, like 50-60% of your salary, and that's way too high. It should
How
be
much would it be? How much would somebody need to pay for it?
if I'm now looking and the rents are 1700 and you are like, and that's for one bedroom flat, that means you have a living room and separate bedroom, and I find it way too much. It doesn't matter if you go further from Berlin, it's still kind of very similar. Food here is cheap. The quality of food here is better than in London, in England. I realized after moving here that actually England is cheaper on buying stuff like furniture, or if I speak like as a girl, if you go to Dam Drogerie, it's much cheaper compared to Boots in London. If you want to go out for dinner, you still pay less, which also changed now because they changed the VAT from 5 to 19%, but it's still lower than in London.
If you would want to give the total number, what would you estimate?
Is it including buying shoes? No, I think I think if you want to pay rent and be able to go on holidays and to cinema sometimes and to dinner, you should earn at least 55,000 before tax per year. I think 2,500, 2,800 would be what you need. You know, when you're in your 20s, it's a different. When you're in your 30s, it's different. When you're in your 40s, you don't want to just sit at home. So the salaries here are a big problem, I would say.
How much would you say somebody needs on a minimum basis in order to survive here comfortably? And it also comes to rents, to
it all
food.
depends on what you like, how your lifestyle is.
Yeah.
Before the conflict here in Europe, the prices of food were half the price that we have now, almost half the price, or maybe a bit more. So things have changed a lot, and it's really hard for me right now to come with a word because I have to do extra job after this conflict to, meet the minimum thing. So I would say for a single person, if they pay a rent of, they manage to find a good house, the rent would be 600 to 800 euros, and then 200 for other bills like electricity and everything, internet, and some of the other things that mobile bill that somebody needs. That's around 900 now in average. So, and then you add the food and however you drink or go out or party. So depends on your lifestyle. So that would be the minimum, at least 1200 and more.
1200 or more.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a minimum
Yeah,
to be able to go by.
that would be like not brutto, not gross, but net.
Yeah. How would you say is the cost of living here?
It's doubled in the past 8 years.
Yeah.
It has doubled in the past 8 years. My Nebenkosten has doubled. The food costs have doubled. And I know this specifically because I found a really old receipt. I was so pleased with my first trip to a grocery here where I spent 17 euro and got all this stuff. And I thought, let me compare it to now. Go to the same store down the street on Rivaler, and I'll get the exact same items today. It was exactly double the cost.
Wow. That was compared to when exactly?
8 years ago.
Compared to 8 years ago.
Yeah, food has doubled in cost.
Yeah. How much would you then say or estimate that a single person would need in order to live a very basic, comfortable life here? Maybe in terms of rent, in terms
It
of
depends on their priority.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people are good living in a WG. They are fine with sharing an apartment with people. I'm not. I like my privacy. I like to entertain. I have dinner parties.
Yeah.
I don't want someone else living in my space, unless you know what I mean. And so if that is the case, then you can get by on 1,200 a month. You can get by on the minimum wage, because if you're 22 years old and you live in a WG and you found a good room and you're happy where you live, etc., you don't need a lot of money. But a good life, you need about $3,000 a month.
$3,000 a month, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, for the most simple though, living with other people.
1,200.
1,200.
Right.
How is the work atmosphere? How is the work-life balance? How do you experience that?
It's pretty balanced compared to other countries such as the US. There is a schedule, and the schedule is respected. And if you stay over time, then you get compensated either with money or vacation extra or something like that. It's very that's one of the things that I really like here. That if you have a job, you start at that time, you finish at that time. You're expected to do your job. You're not like being shadowed all the time, and they expect you to be responsible and to accomplish what you're just to do whatever you have been assigned. There's always the hierarchy. It's always respected. I mean, you already know, you're clear who's your supervisor and what they expect from you. It's very hierarchy. Like you have already the specific person who is you're reporting to. Your colleagues as well. You're not going there to make friends, right? You're just your colleagues, and maybe if you want to take that outside work and say let's go and do something, it's different. But I think that aspect is very straightforward. You're just expected to do the job. You always are meeting people from different parts of the world or from other European countries. So it's not only like you're working only with Germans, but it's also like a mix, which makes the work environment really nice.
I think one of the reasons of being stressed out in Berlin is mostly not having obvious distance or a line in between work and personal life. And once they overlap each other, they give you stress. So if you have the intention of doing it, you could do it. It's not that hard in Berlin. So for me, it's always, I like my colleagues, but I try not to bring them into my personal life unless I really have to. I do social events with colleagues, but on a timely manner, limited. And once I'm out of work, I'm out of work. I leave everything there. I don't think about it. I try not to think about it, at least. And then I keep myself busy in my personal life.
And what is it that tells you it is better to make a separation between your work life, the people that are at your work, and your private friends?
Because I don't want to be stressed. Work is something that stresses you.
Yeah.
And then colleagues are not people that you share fun with. They are people that you share problems with.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, when I see a colleague, I remember the 8 hours that we go through of doing stuff which is hard. But when I come home, I see my friends, I drink a cup of tea or coffee or a beer with them. It gives me another feeling. It's a stress reliever, but there's stress. But I don't blame my colleagues. It's how it is, and I don't want to be a stressor for my colleague as well.
Yeah.
If they look at my face, they would remember what we do. And our job is kind of really difficult because we deal with a lot of stressful things related to migration and conflict, and we really have to forget that once we leave home.
Thanks a lot for watching until the end of this video. Soon you will also see how it is to earn a living as a freelance artist and in the creative industries in Berlin, as well as many other topics related to living in different European cities. You can already find a video about working in IT and in data science in Berlin. Let us know in the comments about your profession and what you can possibly earn there. And I would highly appreciate a like, subscribe, or sharing one of my videos. And I hope to see you in the next video.